The morning light filtered through the tall windows of the Galactic Military Academy, casting long shadows across the training chamber. Hundreds of young soldiers sat in neat rows, their uniforms showing the colors of different worlds and species. The air felt heavy with anticipation as Instructor Taeyang walked slowly across the front of the room. Taeyang was impossible to ignore. Standing nearly 3 meters tall, his skin shimmered with colors that shifted from deep blue to soft purple as he moved. He was a Valorian, a species known for their strength and their love of combat. His forearms were folded across his broad chest, and his dark eyes scanned the room with calm authority. The topic today was legendary armor. Not the standard military equipment that all soldiers wore, but something far older and more mysterious. The precursor armor. Taeyang had taught this lesson many times before, but he never grew tired of it. The students, however, sat up straighter. Everyone wanted to hear about the legends. The precursor armor, Taeyang began, his deep voice filling the entire chamber, is not just technology. It is a mystery that has puzzled the greatest minds in the galaxy for thousands of years. He touched a control panel, and a 3-dimensional image appeared in the air above the room. The image showed a suit of armor, sleek and elegant, with designs that seemed both ancient and impossibly advanced. The students leaned forward. Jin A, a human girl sitting in the middle row, watched the image carefully. She was smaller than most of the other students. Her dark hair pulled back in a simple braid. Her face showed no emotion, but her eyes missed nothing. She had attended the academy for only 3 months, but she had already earned respect for her sharp mind and quiet strength. These suits of armor were created by the precursors, Taeyang continued, moving across the room with each word. A civilization so advanced that no one has ever fully understood their technology. They disappeared hundreds of thousands of years ago, leaving behind only fragments of their creations. The precursor armor is one of their greatest achievements. Hyunji sat near the front of the class. She was a Valorian like Taeyang, but younger and more eager. Her bright yellow skin made her easy to spot among the crowd. She practically bounced in her seat as Taeyang spoke, hanging on every word. Hyunji had won every combat simulation at the academy, and she dreamed of one day wearing the legendary armor. Taeyang raised one of his upper hands, and the holographic image changed. Now it showed detailed technical drawings of the armor's inner systems. The power source alone is still not fully understood. It appears to draw energy from multiple sources simultaneously. The shielding technology is even more remarkable. According to our research, the armor can protect against energy weapons, kinetic impacts, and environmental hazards without needing constant maintenance or power recharges. He paused, letting the information sink in. The armor also contains what we believe to be an artificial intelligence. This AI appears to adapt to its user, learning their fighting style, their preferences, their physical capabilities. The armor becomes better and better the longer one wears it. A soldier from a distant world raised his hand. Instructor, is it true that no one has ever successfully operated a precursor armor? He asked. That is correct. Taeyang nodded. Throughout history, several complete suits have been discovered, but every attempt to use them has ended in failure. The armor does not respond to commands. It does not activate. It sits silent, as if waiting for something we cannot provide. He gestured broadly. Some believe the armor requires genetic markers from the original precursor civilization. Others think the AI itself died long ago, taking its secrets to the grave. The classroom was silent now. The students imagined what it would be like to wear such a suit, to possess such technology. Taeyang watched their faces, reading their thoughts. He had seen this reaction hundreds of times. The real danger, Taeyang said, his voice becoming more serious, is that any faction, any nation, any individual who could master the precursor armor would become nearly unstoppable. They would hold power over the entire galaxy. This is why no government has been allowed to claim ownership of the armor. It is protected under the Galactic Treaty. All known suits are kept in secure vaults, hidden from the world. He walked back to the center of the room. Some believe the precursor armor is nothing more than legend, a story we tell to inspire wonder. But I assure you, the armor is real. Its mystery is real. And one day, perhaps, someone will unlock its secrets. Taeyang turned to face the class directly. This is the greatest puzzle in all of science and engineering. To understand the precursor armor would be to understand the precursors themselves, to learn how to build what they built, to advance our civilization in ways we cannot even imagine. He paused, preparing to continue his lecture, when a small voice broke the silence. Mine had better ventilation. The words were simple and calm, but they landed like a meteor strike. Every head in the room turned. Every eye searched for the source of the voice. Taeyang froze mid-step, his expression shifting from calm authority to complete shock. It was Jin-A, the quiet human girl in the middle of the room. She was looking at the holographic armor with mild interest, as if commenting on something ordinary. The classroom erupted into confused whispers. Hyunji's eyes went wide, and she let out a nervous laugh, unsure if this was some kind of joke. But Taeyang's face told a different story. He was not amused. He was concerned. Slowly, deliberately, Taeyang turned his full body toward Jin-A. All four of his arms uncrossed. His shimmer of color seemed to intensify. When he spoke, his voice was no longer the calm instructor's tone. It was urgent and controlled. The voice of someone who had just stumbled onto something extraordinary. Jin-A, Taeyang said, I need you to come to my office after this lesson ends. Right now, I need you to sit down and say nothing more. Jin-A met his gaze steadily. She nodded once and slowly sat back in her seat. But the damage was done. Every student in the room was now staring at the human girl with new interest. Some looked confused. Others looked suspicious. Hyunji looked like she was about to ask a question, but something in Taeyang's expression warned her to stay silent. Taeyang turned back to the holographic display, but his usual confidence seemed to have cracked. He tried to continue the lesson, discussing theoretical applications and failed experiments. But his attention kept drifting back to Jin-A. The human girl, for her part, simply sat quietly, looking at the image of the armor with her dark, knowing eyes. The rest of the class dragged on for what felt like forever. When Taeyang finally dismissed the students, Jin-A stood slowly and made her way toward his office. The other students whispered excitedly, trying to figure out what had just happened. Hyunji remained quiet, her mind working through possibilities, but none of them could have guessed the truth that was about to unfold. None of them could have imagined that the quiet human girl they had studied beside held the key to the galaxy's greatest mystery. None of them knew that what started with a simple comment about ventilation would soon change everything. Taeyang's office was not what most people expected. Instead of displaying the trophies and medals of a decorated military officer, the walls were lined with books and research papers. The space was cluttered and lived in, filled with the evidence of a curious mind. Taeyang gestured for Jin-A to sit, then locked the door behind her. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Taeyang stood behind his desk, his forearms moving nervously, a habit that appeared when he was thinking hard. Jin-A sat calmly in the chair, her hands folded in her lap, her face showing no fear or worry. You said the ventilation was better in yours, Taeyang said finally. His voice was soft, almost a whisper. I need you to explain exactly what you meant by that statement. Jin-A's dark eyes studied the instructor. She had known this moment would come eventually. Ever since she had arrived at the academy, she had been careful. But the lecture had touched something in her. The false information, the mystery treated as legend, the dismissal of what she knew to be absolutely real. The words had simply escaped before she could stop them. I can't, Jin-A said simply. Not here. Not now. There are too many listening devices in this academy. Your office, the corridors, the dining halls. I've found at least 15 listening devices since I arrived. Taeyong's expression shifted to something between concern and fascination. You've been actively looking for surveillance equipment? Don. Don. It's basic survival, Jin-A replied. Where I come from, you learn to check for observers very quickly, or you don't survive at all. Taeyong moved to a cabinet in the corner of his office and retrieved a small device. He activated it, and a soft hum filled the room. That will jam any surveillance equipment within this space for about 20 minutes, he said. So, Jin-A, I think you should tell me what you know about the precursor armor. And I think you should start from the beginning. Quote, Jin-A took a breath. She had made her choice when she spoke in class, and now she had to live with it. I'm from the outer colonies, she began. Beyond the mapped territories, my world, Karam, was supposed to be just a small farming settlement. But about 8 years ago, an exploration team discovered something underground. Something very old and very large. She paused, remembering. They found a facility, a structure that predated any known civilization. Inside, they found things, equipment, technology, and armor. 7 complete suits of armor, still in their storage units, untouched for probably thousands of years. Taeyong had been leaning forward intently. Now he straightened up, processing her words. 7 suits? But there are only 4 confirmed in the entire galaxy. There are now more than 4, Jin-A said quietly. My people kept it quiet. They didn't trust the hegemony or any government to handle something this important. They studied it in secret. They built a laboratory around the facility. And when I showed an aptitude for science and physical conditioning, they taught me. They taught you what? Taeyong asked, though his tone suggested he already suspected the answer. Everything. How the armor works. How to interface with the AI. How to make it respond. Jin-A's voice was steady and factual. The ventilation system in our modifications is improved because the original system was designed by the precursors thousands of years ago. It was efficient, yes, but it wasn't designed for a human body. A human body produces heat differently than other species. Our metabolic systems work at different rates. I adjusted the cooling and air circulation pathways to match human physiology better. Taeyong sat down slowly in his chair. You're telling me that you have actively used a precursor armor suit? That you have modified it? That you have made it better? Yes, Jin-A said simply. The Valorian instructor was quiet for a very long time. His skin cycled through several colors, reflecting his emotional state. Blue faded to green. Green shifted to yellow. Yellow deepened to orange. When he finally spoke, his voice was filled with careful control. How many people know about this? In my colony? 50 or 60 maybe. Here at the academy? No one. You're the first. And what made you say it out loud in class? Taeyong asked, not unkindly. You've clearly been hiding this information. Jin-A considered the question seriously. Because I heard you tell them lies, she said. You told them that no one has ever operated a precursor armor. You told them that the armor doesn't respond to commands. You told them that it's still a mystery. But it's not a mystery. It's just hidden. And it seemed wrong to sit there and listen to such important knowledge being treated as legend when I know the truth. Taeyong was silent again. He activated another device on his desk, and this one projected a small hologram. He appeared to be checking something. The jamming field is stable, he said. We have 17 minutes left before we need to be careful about what we say. He turned his full attention back to Jin-A. I need you to understand something very important. What you've just told me puts you in serious danger. Not just from this academy or this government, but from every faction in known space. Every nation, every corporation, every military force would kill to possess what you know. I know, Janae said. That's why I've been quiet. But you can't unknow something once you know it. And I was tired of pretending to be ignorant. Taeyang stood and walked to the window. From his office, he could see the training grounds below, where soldiers practiced and competed. The question now is what we do with this information. You've revealed yourself. That can't be changed. But what happens next depends entirely on how we proceed. He turned back to face her. There are people I trust. People who are not part of the official military hierarchy. People who understand that some knowledge should not be controlled by governments or the military-industrial complex. But reaching them, bringing them in, that will be dangerous for both of us. I didn't come to the academy to be safe, Janae said quietly. I came here to learn how the wider galaxy works, to understand the systems, to find out where I fit. It seems I've found my answer faster than I expected. Taeyang's expression became serious and intense. This is not a game, Janae. Once you step down this path, there is no stepping off it. Are you sure you want to do this? What's the alternative? Janae asked. Hide. Pretend I don't know what I know? Eventually, someone will figure it out. And if I've already revealed myself, then I'm better off being proactive than reactive. A slight smile appeared on Taeyang's face. It was the smile of someone who had just confirmed something he had suspected. You're right. And I think I know someone who needs to meet you. Someone very important. But we need to be careful. Completely careful. What happened in that classroom will not stay quiet for long. As if on cue, the jamming device beeped softly. The 20 minutes had passed. Taeyang deactivated it and gestured toward the door. For now, you go back to your quarters. Act normal. Speak to no one about this conversation. Tomorrow, something will happen. Something that looks like a routine assignment. When it happens, you'll understand, and you'll know to follow. Janae stood and moved toward the door. Before she left, she turned back to look at her instructor. Thank you, she said simply. For listening. For believing me. Taeyang nodded. Thank you for being brave enough to speak the truth. The galaxy needs more humans like you. He paused, then added quietly. And Janae, that comment about ventilation? It was perfect. Keep thinking like that. The best warriors aren't always the strongest. Sometimes, they're just the ones who paid attention to small details. As Janae left the office and walked back through the academy corridors, she had no idea that everything was about to change. Taeyang was already composing a message to his contacts, carefully coded and hidden in seemingly innocent language. Word would spread through channels the academy didn't even know existed, and by tomorrow, powerful people would know about the human girl who understood the precursor armor. The game had begun. The morning light had barely touched the academy when Janae received the message on her personal communication device. It came through the official academy network. But the code was different. Someone had used encryption protocols that shouldn't have existed in the academy's system. Report to the administrative complex. Section 7. Storage room 14. Immediate equipment evaluation. Authorization code. Taeyang emergency protocol. Janae's heart raced as she read the message. This was it. The something that Taeyang had mentioned. She dressed quickly in her academy uniform and made her way through the corridors. Few people were awake at this early hour, which meant she would be less noticeable. That was good. That meant Taeyang had planned this carefully. The administrative complex was a massive structure, separate from the main training areas. Section 7 was in the lower levels, a place most students never visited. It contained storage rooms for equipment that the academy wasn't currently using. Janae found room 14 exactly where it should be. When she pressed her hand against the door lock, it slid open silently. The room was large and filled with rows of containers. But standing in the center of the space was something that made Janae stop breathing for a moment. It was a combat simulator pod. Not just any simulator, but an advanced model. The kind that was used only for specialized training. the kind that could recreate any combat scenario with near-perfect accuracy. Taeyang was already there, along with someone else. The stranger was a young woman, tall and strong, with pale skin and dark eyes that seemed to see everything. She wore the uniform of a researcher, not a soldier. Jin A, Taeyang said, his tone careful and professional. I want you to meet Nari. She's a specialist in advanced equipment evaluation. Nari is going to run some tests on you today. These tests are not on the official academy schedule, so we need to work quickly. Nari stepped forward and extended her hand. It's very good to meet you, she said. Her voice was calm and professional. I understand you have some experience with advanced armor systems. We'd like to see exactly what you can do. Over the next hour, Nari ran Jin'ei through a series of physical and mental tests. She tested Jin'ei's strength, her reflexes, her coordination, and her problem-solving abilities. She asked detailed technical questions about armor systems, weapon designs, and combat theory. She watched Jin'ei carefully, noting everything, saying very little. When the tests were finished, Nari's expression had changed. She looked at Taeyang with clear significance in her eyes. She's exactly what the reports indicated, Nari said quietly. Better. Even. The practical knowledge is exceptional. I know. He turned to Jin'ei. A special tournament has been arranged. It's to be held in 2 days. The best combat students from the academy are being selected to compete. You will be one of them. Jin'ei's eyes widened. In front of important people, Nari corrected. Military commanders, government officials, and representatives from various factions. The tournament will showcase our academy's finest warriors. It's the perfect opportunity. Perfect opportunity for what? Jin'ei asked. To show them what a human warrior can do, Taeyang said. He paused, and his expression became more serious. There's something else. For this tournament, you'll be given access to a special armor system. It's not the precursor armor, but it's military-grade equipment that few people in the academy have ever used. We want to see how you perform in it. Over the next 2 days, Jin'ei trained in the special armor. It was advanced, yes, but nothing compared to what she had used on Karim. Still, she understood its systems quickly, and she made small adjustments to make it work better for her body. She modified the weight distribution and improved the power flow paths. Small changes, but important ones. On the day of the tournament, the Academy's main combat arena was filled with spectators. There were hundreds of people, maybe thousands, sitting in the stands and watching from the viewing platforms. Above the arena, cameras broadcast the events to people across the entire galaxy. This was one of the Academy's most prestigious events. Hyunji was also competing. The Valorian warrior had been training her entire life for moments like this. When she saw Jin'ei in the advanced armor, her confident expression flickered with something like doubt. But she recovered quickly, her competitive spirit rising to meet the challenge. The tournament was structured in rounds. First, there were one-on-one combat simulations, where warriors fought against holographic opponents. The scenarios changed constantly, testing different skills, swimming through water while fighting, flying through zero-gravity environments while defending from attacks, complex tactical situations where speed and thinking both mattered. When it was Jin'ei's turn, the holographic arena changed. The simulation loaded a scenario designed to test the best fighters. She was placed on a planet with high gravity and thick atmosphere. Enemy soldiers appeared, armed with weapons designed to penetrate armor. The holographic gravity pressed down on her like a heavy weight, making every movement difficult. But Jin'ei didn't fight like most soldiers. She didn't try to overpower her opponents. Instead, she moved with the gravity, using the pressure as a tool rather than fighting against it. She positioned herself with careful calculation, making every move count. She conserved energy while her opponents exhausted themselves. When they attacked, she was never exactly where they expected her to be. The spectators watched in silence as Jin-A defeated opponent after opponent. Her movements were smooth and efficient. Her choices were smart and surprising. She didn't look like a warrior from any known species. She looked different. She looked human. In the next round, the tournament moved to direct combat. Warriors fought each other, not holographic enemies. Jin-A's first match was against a Zelthian soldier named Kai. The Zelthian was fast and strong, with 4 arms just like Taeyang. But Jin-A was faster. She understood how to predict his movements, how to counter his 4-armed fighting style. She won, though Kai fought well and respected her greatly afterward. Her second match was against a warrior from a species Jin-A had never encountered before. The creature was large and had tough skin that seemed resistant to normal weapons. But it was also slower and less flexible. Jin-A used her human advantages, adaptability, creative thinking, and the ability to see patterns others missed. She won again. Then came the match everyone had been waiting for. Jin-A versus Hyun-Ji. The 2 warriors entered the combat arena. Hundreds of thousands of eyes watched them. Hyun-Ji wore standard military armor, but it was the best equipment the academy had to offer. She was strong and confident, trained by the finest instructors, with years of combat experience. When the match began, they moved toward each other with equal intensity. Hyun-Ji attacked first, her forearms creating a pattern of strikes that would have overwhelmed most opponents. But Jin-A had studied Hyun-Ji for months. She knew her fighting style, her preferences, her habits. She moved with precision, blocking and dodging, never quite where Hyun-Ji expected. Then something unexpected happened. Hyun-Ji, frustrated by Jin-A's perfect defense, made a small mistake. It was tiny, barely noticeable. But in combat, tiny mistakes meant defeat. Jin-A saw it immediately. She moved forward with a controlled strike, and it was over. Hyun-Ji fell to the ground. The match was decided. Jin-A had won. She helped Hyun-Ji stand, and when they removed their helmets, Hyun-Ji's expression showed something surprising. Not anger or humiliation, but fascination. "How did you know?" Hyun-Ji asked, breathing heavily. "How did you predict every move?" "I watched you train," Jin-A said simply. "I learned your patterns. I paid attention to the small things." "You're excellent, Hyun-Ji. You're just not used to opponents who think differently." As Jin-A stood in the center of the arena, the crowd erupted in cheers. Some cheered for her as the winner. Others cheered because they had witnessed something remarkable. A human warrior, alone on the galaxy stage, had proven something important. It wasn't that humans were stronger than anyone else. It was that humans could be smarter, quicker to adapt, more creative in how they approached problems. High above the arena, in a private viewing room, Commander Su-Jin watched Jin-A's victory. Su-Jin was the leader of the academy. A powerful Zelthian, with sharp political instincts. Her expression showed clear interest in the human girl. Not friendly interest. Calculating interest. The kind of interest that usually meant dangerous things ahead. The message arrived 3 days after the tournament. This time, it came directly to Jin-A's personal quarters, hand-delivered by an official academy courier. The envelope was sealed with the mark of the Hegemony Council, the highest government authority in the galaxy. Jin-A's hands trembled slightly as she opened it. Inside was a formal invitation, requesting her immediate presence at the Academy's Government Liaison Office. The signature at the bottom read, High Envoy Mira, the Hegemony Council's representative. When Jin-A arrived at the liaison office, she found it was more luxurious than any other building at the Academy. The walls were smooth and polished, made from materials that probably cost more than Jin-A's entire home colony. Everything was designed to impress, to remind visitors of power and wealth. Mira stood by a large window, looking out at the Academy grounds below. The envoy was tall and elegant, with silver skin that caught the light beautifully. She wore formal robes that suggested both military rank and political authority. When she turned to face Jin-A, her smile was warm and welcoming. But her eyes were calculating. "Jin-A," Mira said, gesturing for the human girl to sit. "Thank you so much for coming. I'm sure you've had quite a busy time lately. Your performance in the tournament was remarkable. Truly remarkable. I've been watching your progress with great interest." "Thank you, Envoy Mira," Jin-A replied carefully. She remained standing, rather than sitting. "I'm honored by the council's attention. Please sit," Mira said with an even broader smile. "We're not here for formal ceremony. I want to speak with you as one intelligent being to another." She settled into a chair across from where Jin-A had chosen to sit. "I have a proposal for you. One that could change your life entirely." Jin-A waited. She said nothing. Taeyang had warned her that this moment would probably come. The question was, what exactly Mira wanted? "The Hegemony Council has become aware that you possess knowledge about certain ancient technologies." Mira began carefully. "Specifically, the technology of the precursor civilization. Now, we don't need to dance around this fact. We know you have experience that no one else in this academy has. That makes you valuable. Incredibly valuable." "I'm not sure what you mean," Jin-A said. It was a basic defense, buying her time to think. "Of course you are," Mira said, not unkindly. "You showed it all throughout the tournament. The way you moved in that advanced armor. The way you understood the equipment instinctively. The way you adapted and improved. Those are not skills that come from standard academy training. Someone taught you. Someone who has actual knowledge of precursor systems." Mira stood and walked to a side table. She poured 2 glasses of water and handed one to Jin-A. "Let me be direct. The Hegemony Council wants to offer you a position. You would work for us, helping us understand precursor technology. In exchange, we would provide you with anything you need. Money, equipment, resources, protection, prestige, anything." Jin-A sipped the water slowly. "And if I refused?" "Well," Mira said, still smiling that warm smile, "that would be unfortunate. We would have no choice but to take your armor and all your technical knowledge for research. You would be reassigned to a distant military outpost, very far from here, where you could continue your career in a more remote capacity." "Productive career." "Certainly, but distant. And eventually, someone would find out what you know, and they would extract that knowledge by other means. Much more painful means." There it was, the threat wrapped in pleasant words and warm smiles. Jin-A understood the message clearly. "Cooperate, or lose everything." "I need to think about it," Jin-A said. "Of course you do," Mira replied. "But don't think too long. The council is eager to move forward. I'll give you 24 hours to make your decision. After that, matters proceed from here without your input." Jin-A left the liaison office and made her way carefully through the academy. She avoided the main corridors and headed straight for Taeyang's private training chamber. The Valorian instructor had shown her a hidden route to his personal space, a back way that avoided the academy's monitoring systems. Taeyang was waiting for her. He seemed to have known she would come. That was because he was not alone. Nari was there, along with 2 other people Jin-A had never met. One was an older human man with kind eyes and a scarred face. The other was a young Valorian woman, barely older than Jin-A, with intelligent eyes that reminded her of Taeyang's. "This is Dr. K1, Taeyang said, indicating the older human man. "He's a scientist who works with our organization. And this is my sister, Min Su. She helps coordinate things for us. We know about Mira's offer," Nari said before Jin-A could speak. "We expected it. The Hegemony Council moves quickly when it sees something valuable." "What is this organization?" Jin-A asked. "And don't tell me it's nothing official." "I can see this is organized and serious." Taeyang gestured for Jin-A to sit. "We call it the Preservation Circle. We're a group of people from different worlds and species who believe that some knowledge should not be concentrated in the hands of any single government. We believe the precursor technology is too important to be controlled by the Hegemony Council or any military faction. We believe it should be preserved and shared, protected from those who would use it for domination. You're rebels, Ginny said. In a way, Minsu said. But we try to work carefully, through legal channels when possible, through hidden channels when necessary. Dr. Kaiwan leaned forward. The question now is what you want to do. We can protect you. We can help you escape the academy and find safety somewhere in known space. Or you can accept Mira's offer and work from inside the hegemony system. But if you do that, we will need your help. We will need you to protect the knowledge you have, to prevent the hegemony from fully reverse engineering precursor technology. You're asking me to be a spy, Jin'ei said quietly. We're asking you to be brave, Taeyong corrected. We're asking you to use your mind and your resources to prevent something dangerous from happening. The Hegemony Council is not evil, but they are ambitious. If they gain complete control over precursor technology, they will use it to dominate other factions, other worlds. War will come. Suffering will spread across the galaxy. Jin'ei stood and walked to the window. From here, she could see the Academy's main courtyard. Soldiers trained there, doing their exercises, preparing for the conflicts that always seem to exist somewhere in the galaxy. Humans, Valorians, Zelthians, and 100 other species, all learning to fight, all preparing for war. If I accept Mira's offer and work with you, Jin'ei asked, what exactly would I have to do? Slow down their research, Nari said. Introduce subtle errors into their experiments. Protect critical components from their understanding. Make sure they can't quickly reverse engineer the technology. Buy time for us to find another way forward. That's dangerous, Jin'ei said. If they find out I'm working against them, they won't just reassign me. They'll kill me. Yes, Taeyong said simply. It is dangerous. That's why we're asking you. Not forcing you. This has to be your choice. Jin'ei turned back to look at the group. If I do this, I want guarantees. I want to know exactly what I'm getting into. I want to understand the full plan. Not just the immediate steps. We can give you time to understand, Taeyong said. But not much time. You have to give Mira your answer tomorrow. Over the next several hours, Jin'ei learned about the Preservation Circle. She learned about their history, their values, and their plan. They wanted to protect precursor knowledge by distributing it across multiple independent colonies rather than letting it be controlled by one power. It was dangerous, but it was also noble. As dawn approached, Jin'ei made her decision. She would accept Mira's offer. She would work for the Hegemony Council, but she would also work for the Preservation Circle. She would become a spy, a double agent walking a razor-thin line between two conflicting loyalties. It was terrifying. It was also the most important choice she had ever made. 6 months had passed since Jin'ei left the academy. 6 months of living in a black facility, hidden from public knowledge, surrounded by walls that blocked all communications to the outside universe. The facility was called Research Station 12, but the soldiers who worked there simply called it the Vault. It was here that the Hegemony Council kept its most important projects, including the study of precursor technology. Jin'ei worked in a lab that contained sophisticated equipment and computers more advanced than anything she had ever seen. Around her were brilliant minds from across known space. There was Dr. K1, who had somehow gained employment here through careful planning. There were Valorian engineers, Zelthian scientists, and representatives from a dozen other species. All of them worked toward one goal: understanding how precursor armor functioned. The armor itself sat in the center of the main laboratory. It was the suit that had been discovered in the colonial outpost, carefully transported to the vault by the Hegemony Council. The sleek design that had seemed so mysterious at the academy was now surrounded by sensors, probes, and analysis equipment. Cables connected the armor to massive computer terminals. Technicians worked constantly, trying to unlock its secrets. But the armor refused to cooperate. This was the core problem that frustrated everyone at the facility. Commander Sujin, who had been transferred here to oversee the research, would grow angry every time she reviewed the progress reports. The precursor AI would not activate. The armor would not respond to commands. It sat there, inert and silent, as if waiting for something that modern technology could not provide. There must be a genetic lock, suggested Dr. Yabin, one of the senior researchers, during a morning briefing. The armor might require DNA from the original precursor civilization to function. Without that, we're essentially looking at an elaborate shell with no power source we can access. Then find a way to bypass it, Commander Sujin said coldly. She was a Zelthian, with gray-streaked skin, indicating her advanced age and long years of military service. Her eyes were hard and calculating. That's what you're here for. I don't pay exceptional scientists to tell me what can't be done. I pay you to do the impossible. Lok, Tex Peter. Jin A stood quietly in the corner of the room, taking notes. Outwardly, she was just another research assistant, one of many junior scientists, helping with the project. But inside, she was carefully watching, observing, planning. Every day, she worked to subtly misdirect the research. She introduced small errors into calculations. She suggested experimental paths that would waste time but produce no results. She made sure that no one got too close to understanding the armor's actual function. The communication system she had been given by the Preservation Circle was hidden in her personal quarters, disguised as part of a medical diagnostic device. Once every 5 days, when she had a brief window of private time, she would send coded messages back to Taeyang. Progress reports. Information about what the hegemony was learning. Suggestions for how the Preservation Circle could prepare for what might come. Jin A. A voice called. It was Captain Da He, one of the military officers assigned to oversee security at the facility. Da He was young for a captain, ambitious, and suspicious of everyone. She had been watching Jin A carefully since she arrived. Come with me. We need to talk about your experimental proposals. Jin A followed Da He to a private office. The captain's expression was serious, almost angry. This was not good. This felt dangerous. I've been reviewing your work, Da He said, pulling up files on her computer terminal. And I've noticed something interesting. Every major experimental path you've suggested ends in dead ends. Every calculation you've worked on contains subtle errors. Every analysis you've contributed has pushed us away from understanding this technology rather than closer to it. Jinny's heart raced, but she kept her face calm. I'm not sure what you mean, Captain. I work as carefully as possible. If there have been errors, they're honest mistakes. I don't think so, Da He said, standing and moving closer. I think you're sabotaging the research. I think you're working against the Hegemony Council. And I think you're a spy. There was a moment of absolute silence. Jin A had known this moment might come. She had trained for it, planned for it. But the actual reality of facing it was different from the theoretical possibility. I don't know what makes you think that, Jin A said carefully. But I assure you I'm devoted to this project. Prove it, Da He said. Prove it by helping me crack the armor's central computer core. I have a plan that I think will work. It requires expertise in the armor's systems that only a few people have. You have that expertise, don't you? Or are you going to refuse? This was the trap. If Jin A refused, it would confirm Da He's suspicions. If she helped, she would be accelerating the very thing she had been working to prevent. The armor's central core was the last major secret. If Da He managed to access it, the hegemony would understand enough to begin replicating precursor technology. War would become inevitable. I'll help, Janae said finally. Let me see your plan. Da He's face showed a mixture of triumph and continued suspicion. She pulled up detailed technical drawings. Her plan was sophisticated and actually might work. She had clearly studied the armor systems far more carefully than Jean-A had realized. "This is good work," Jean-A said, meaning it. "If you execute this correctly, you'll access the primary systems within 72 hours. Then let's get started," Dahi said. "Right now." Over the next 2 days, Jin-A and Dahi worked constantly. The captain drove the research forward with relentless energy. Her plan was working. Slowly, carefully, the armor's defenses were being bypassed. The sensors began to respond. Power started flowing through systems that had been dormant for thousands of years. Dr. K1 watched from across the laboratory with barely concealed concern. He kept sending Jin-A meaningful looks, but there was nothing he could do without revealing himself. On the third day, just as they were reaching the final stage of accessing the central core, Dr. Kai-1 approached them with urgent news. "We need to stop the procedure," he said. "The power drain is affecting the entire facility. Systems are starting to fail." "That's a minor issue," Dahi said. "We can route power differently." But it wasn't a minor issue. It was a signal. A signal that Taeyang and the Preservation Circle had been waiting for. Jin-A understood immediately. The attack was coming. The Preservation Circle was making its move. Alarms suddenly blared throughout the facility. Red emergency lights flooded the corridors. An automated voice announced that there was a critical security breach in Section 4. But there was no Section 4. It was a code phrase, something that only the Preservation Circle members knew. "What's happening?" Captain Dahi demanded, but Jin-A was already moving. She pulled a small device from her pocket and activated it. The laboratory's main computer terminals went dark. The power to the research equipment cut off. In the confusion and darkness, she did something she had been preparing to do for months. She destroyed the backup storage systems that contained all of the hegemony's research data about the precursor armor. "You!" Dahi yelled, understanding finally what was really happening. She grabbed Ginny's arm. "You're the spy! You're the saboteur!" "I'm sorry," Janae said, and she meant it. Dahi was just a soldier, just someone doing her job. But the armor had to be protected. "I really am." There was a moment of struggle. Dahi was strong and trained for combat. But Janae had something Dahi didn't have. She had the element of surprise and years of experience with the precursor armor's defensive systems. She used the physical training she had learned on Karam to disable Dahi without causing serious harm. The captain collapsed, stunned but alive. The facility was now in complete chaos. Emergency systems activated. The armor itself went into protective mode. Its systems powering down entirely, ready to be sealed in the hardened containment chamber that would automatically engage if the facility detected a breach. Dr. K1 appeared beside Janae. "This way," he said, pulling her toward a corridor. "The extraction point is ready. We need to move now." As they ran through the darkened corridors, Jin-A could hear soldiers shouting, alarms blaring, the sound of organized emergency response. Behind them, Commander Sujin's voice was booming over the facility's intercom system, ordering a lockdown, but they were faster. The Preservation Circle had planned every detail. They reached a service tunnel that led away from the facility. Dr. Kaiwan had a communication device, and he activated it. "Package is secured," he said simply. "We're heading to Extraction Point Alpha." They emerged from the tunnel into the night air. A small spacecraft was waiting, its engines already warming up. As they ran toward it, Jin-A looked back at the facility. Lights blazed inside, emergency systems active, soldiers moving urgently. She had done it. She had prevented the hegemony from gaining complete control of precursor technology, but she had also made herself a fugitive. She had made herself an enemy of the most powerful government in known space. Whatever came next would be dangerous and uncertain. As the spacecraft lifted off and entered the upper atmosphere, Jin-A settled into a seat beside Dr. K1. He looked at her with something like respect and something like pity. What now? Janae asked. Now, Dr. K1 said, you become a legend, the human who stood against the hegemony, the woman who protected knowledge that could have changed the galaxy. Some will call you a hero, others will call you a criminal. But one thing is certain, your life will never be the same. As the spacecraft reached orbit and plotted a course for hidden space, Jin-A thought about what had brought her here. It had started with a simple comment about ventilation. It had led to the academy, to meetings with powerful people, to dangerous work behind enemy lines, to running for her life. And it wasn't over. The armor was still out there. The precursor technology still existed. The galaxy would still hunger for power and knowledge. There would be more challenges, more dangers, more choices to make. But for the first time since leaving the academy, Jin-A felt something close to peace. She had done what she believed was right. She had stood against systems that threatened to control the galaxy. She had chosen principle over comfort and freedom over safety. It was enough.